today we have a list of interesting speakers that will share information with us. And also there will be a launching of one of the initiatives under this project at the end of the session. But for now, I would stop speaking and give the floor to Jovita, who will give some technical information for us. Jovita, you have the floor, please.
Thank you so much, Carla. Good evening and good morning and good afternoon for everyone. I just want to inform that this webinar will be available into Spanish and French languages translated. You can see world icon on a lower bar. Please select the language you prefer. Also, this webinar will be recorded, and then we will share the recording on the Green Forum and jeffislands.org. You are welcome to post comments and questions to the Q&A on the right, and we will take them during the Q&A session. Thank you so much, and over to you, Carla.
Thank you, Jovita. So now we would move to Melanie Ashton, who is the project manager of this project. Melanie has different types of experience related to e-waste and to chemicals and waste management with UNEP, outside of UNEP, several initiatives related to the Stockholm Convention and projects in different areas of the world. So Melanie, I would like to give you the floor so that you can explain a bit from your side as well.
Thanks so much, Carla, and thank you for being our very capable moderator tonight. It's wonderful to have you here. So thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all here today to the Jeff Islands webinar. It's the 5th in our webinar series, and today's topic is sharing SIDS best practices in e-waste management. But first, before we dive in, I wanted to tell you a little bit about Islands, our program. The Global Environment Facility implementing sustainable low and non-chemical development in SIDS, Jeff Islands program supports 33 SIDS across the Caribbean, Indian and Pacific Ocean to safely and sustainably manage chemical and hazardous waste. This year, we're very pleased to be expanding to support SIDS in the Atlantic region. This includes Cabo Verde, Guinea and Sao Tome and Principe. So welcome, colleagues from those countries. We're very happy to have you on board. Islands aims to connect and facilitate SIDS to SIDS learning across and between project regions, including through dedicated communities of practice on the Green Forum and jeffislands.org, our knowledge management platform. And as part of our approach to SIDS learning, Jeff Islands also hosts webinars on key chemicals and waste issues that SIDS are facing. So far, we've had webinars on plastics, sustainable waste financing, women's leadership in chemicals and waste in SIDS, and IGO for Islands, focusing on resource efficiency. In these webinars, we aim to bring you insights, shared experiences, and hopefully some thought leadership on how SIDS can progress low and non-chemical development pathways. We hope that the webinars will assist in developing opportunities for SIDS, provide a space to share best practices and solutions. We're excited to have the opportunity to bring the SIDS community together through this medium and look forward to an animated discussion today. We're so pleased to be sharing SIDS experiences in managing e-waste. The Islands program is committed to achieving significant global environmental benefits relating to hazardous products. This includes e-waste. We're involved in disposing, phasing out, and preventing over 200,000 tons. And we're aiming to assist Island SIDS in reducing the amount of e-waste produced through remaking and repairing electronic products, and also through improving recycling, both recycling rates and practices. This is a great challenge, of course, and we've got a lot of work ahead of us. So today we're exceptionally lucky to be hearing from several e-waste experts from the Caribbean and the Pacific regions. Their insights, gleaned from first-hand experience, I hope will help us to understand and contextualize more clearly not only the challenges of e-waste management in SIDS, but also opportunities for improving management and scaling up recycling. We hope this will help us deepen our collective understanding of how we manage e-waste in small island countries. And so with that brief overview, I'm very pleased to introduce today's webinar topic on sharing SIDS best management practices in e-waste. We hope this webinar is informative, generative, and useful to your work. And we very much hope you will join the Jeff Islands community of practice on e-waste, which we're officially launching today, and we'll talk about a little later in the meeting. So thank you again for attending. We're so grateful for your continued interest and support. And with that, I'll hand you back over to Clara, our moderator for today's session. You're in very good hands. Thanks, Carla.
Thank you, Melanie. Yeah, and this project sounds very exciting, and I'm very interested, and I suppose many of us here are very interested in hearing about the experience of the different colleagues. Sorry. Okay, we continue. I heard a voice. So
please continue.
Okay. All right. So the first colleague who will share some experience with us comes from Guyana, so South America, and she will, it's Miss Odessa Duncan. Hi, Odessa. Nice seeing you. So Odessa is a legal and policy advisor with over a decade of experience in providing advice in business law and intellectual property law and environmental law. So she will share, no, sorry, that's Meredith, I'm sorry. I was just reading wrongly here. So Odessa, you work for the EPA in Guyana. I'm very sorry about that. Senior Environment Officer and Head of Industry and Waste Management in her country. And she will talk to us about the experience of the case study of Guyana in this project. So Odessa, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Carla. It's nice seeing you again. Good colleagues, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. It's my pleasure this afternoon to present a brief verbal presentation on the e-waste management in Guyana. Now, a United Nations Environment Program 2019 report noted the world produces as much as 50 million tons of e-waste a year. Only 20% of this is formally recycled. If current trends continue, global e-waste production is on track to reach 120 million tons per year by 2050. The report notes that 80% end up in landfills or is informally recycled, much of it by hand in developing countries like Guyana, exposing workers to hazardous and carcinogenic substances, contaminating soil and groundwater, and jeopardizing food supply systems and water sources. The mismanagement of e-waste also results in the significant loss of scarce and valuable raw materials and represents the loss of income generating opportunities. An e-waste assessment conducted in 2021 under the RGT 3726 project, which looks at the management of e-waste in Guyana, Suriname, and Trinidad and Tobago, indicates that Guyana's generation of e-waste in 2020 was estimated at 7,200 tons, or approximately 9.2 kg per capita per year, and only less than 1% is managed according to sound environmental standards. Let's examine why. Is there a lack of existing legislation in Guyana? No. The management of e-waste is regulated by the Hazardous Waste Regulations under the Environmental Protection Act. Is there a lack of formal systems and infrastructure for the sound management of e-waste? Yes. There is no formal collection of e-waste. E-waste collection is arranged, picked up between consumers and recyclers. And when I say recycler, there is only one authorized e-waste facility in Guyana. And the majority of e-waste is collected as mixed waste, disposed of together with household waste. There is no official e-waste treatment facility. While some dismantling activities are taking place at the one authorized recycler, there is limited to no information on the export quantity and treatment options for e-waste. Is the high cost associated with the management of e-waste a deterrent? Yes. According to the University of Natural Resources and Life Science Assessment, which is BOKU, one of our contributed to the e-waste assessment project, the cost to collect, dismantle, and treat 2,155 tons of e-waste per year is approximately $722 per ton. This equates to $1,555,910 for the 2,155 tons, right? Which is equivalent to $326,741,100 Guyana dollars. In this regard, we need to examine and explore available opportunities that will allow e-waste recyclers access to financial support. Is there a lack of awareness about the economic benefits of e-waste? Yes, we have learned of the significant costs associated with the management of e-waste. Do the economic benefits and returns outweigh that cost? Maybe, we don't know. So the recommendations from the assessments are that we need to do more capacity building for all our key stakeholders. We need to promote the reuse and repair of e-waste via financial and technical support. And towards this end, the project, one of the components of the project is looking to have a centralized location for the collection of e-waste between these three countries, Guyana, Suriname, and Trinidad. So that will be one of the focus of that project, which the aim is to intend to promote and to provide that technical and financial support to our recyclers. Regional cooperation and collaboration, again, via that same centralized, and also talking to our regional counterparts. Public engagement and awareness building, it's very much needed, and we need to continue. Many persons are unaware of the adverse impact of e-waste, of the mismanagement of e-waste, as well as the economic benefit they can get and the opportunities that are available to recyclers once this is done properly. With that, I thank you. And back over to you, Carla.
Thank you very much, Odessa. Yeah, that's some problems to be taken into account in your region or sub-region in this case, and interesting points that you raised here. Thank you very much for sharing those details with us. Now we would like to hear from the next colleague. Now is Meredith Cumberbatch. And someone was asking me if Meredith was related to the famous actor. Everybody shall ask you that, Meredith. So before we move on, I would like just to share a few details about Meredith. So now it's the right information. She's from Suriname, a neighbor country from Guyana, and also in South America, close to Trinidad and Tobago as well. She is the one with the environmental law background and has a lot of experience in this area, environmental law and related fields, and also advising the development implementation of national environment policy and regulations in her country, more focus on chemicals and waste management. So all very relevant as well for the area of e-waste. We would like to hear from you today, Meredith. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. So good afternoon, good evening, or good morning to everyone joining us today. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you about the e-waste assessment that was conducted in Suriname, Guyana, and Trinidad. I wanted to start off to give you some basic information on Suriname. So Suriname is has a land area of approximately 186,000 square kilometers, and we have a population of approximately 600,000 people, of which over 80% lives in the coastal area. Suriname is located at the northeastern coast of South America. And in Suriname, the Ministry of Spatial Planning and Environment is responsible for the development and implementation of the environmental policy and legislation. And together with the Institute for Environment and Development in Suriname, who is now transitioning into our National Environment Authority, they are responsible for enforcement and monitoring of the environmental policy and legislation. So the environmental policy in Suriname has three priority areas. One is protection of natural assets. Two is keeping a carbon negative status. And three is maintaining a clean environment, which entails creating a sound chemical and waste management system. So because Suriname is a growing nation with a growing population, there are also significant, there's a significant increase in the generation of waste. A bigger population, fast growing technological innovation in the world, and an increase in the usage of electronic equipment will lead to more e-waste generation. If electrical and electronic equipments are not disposed of properly at the end of their life, this will result in negative impacts to human health and environment because of the e-waste, because of e-waste contains hazardous components. So the e-waste assessment that was conducted in Suriname as part of the regional project provided us with the following data. The assessment examined the generation of waste from 2017 to 2022 and found that 41.1 kilotons of e-waste is generated. In 2021, 6.8 kilotons of e-waste was generated, which equated to 11.59 kilograms per capita. The legal assessment found there was no specific legislation for policy for e-waste management in Suriname. However, its management could possibly be covered through the National Environmental Framework Act and its implementing regulations. I want to know that this Framework Act was we are now implementing it. It's an Environmental Framework Act from 2020. And we are still working on developing the necessary regulations. The economic assessment found when the sub-regional dismantling plant was located in Suriname, positive economic results. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to skip that. So this assessment also provided some other data I'm going to share with you. So there is at the moment no formal collection of e-waste in Suriname. E-waste is disposed of together with household waste. There is no official e-waste treatment facility for cooling and freezing and lighting equipment. Our local telephone company started with their own initiative to set up e-waste collection points. So that started last year. And there's also some small dismantling activities taking place by 2 private companies as a pilot activity. So this assessment, the results of this assessment, they gave us a clearer perspective of the generation and management practices of this type of waste in Suriname. And as the previous speaker said, a lot of awareness is needed also in Suriname on e-waste and the treatment of it. And with that, I want to thank the IDB, the BCRC Caribbean, and WOCU who helped doing this assessment. And I would also like to thank the JEF, the UNEP, and GGKP for this opportunity to exchange information on the lessons learned and challenges. And we from Suriname would like to start the collaboration with each other in this island community to face the challenges of e-waste together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Meredith. Also interesting information, a little bit different than Guyana. And we see some opportunities here, I think, for this project, exactly as Odessa was saying, and also Melanie mentioned a kind of cooperation among yourselves. Very good. I would like just to confirm, it seems that we unfortunately do not have a panelist from the Pacific today. Jovita, is this still the case?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. So unfortunately, we couldn't reach out to the colleagues in the Pacific to confirm one of them to participate today, but perhaps next time. So let's move then to the colleagues from Trinidad and Tobago. We have Raj and Sarah to speak. So they have a very interesting work in the country and in the region. So Raj has a computer and electrical engineer background and is working on the educational sector for several years. And I think trying to improve the issues that we are dealing here with today from that point of view. And he has a nonprofit organization which works exactly on education and technology, this linkage. And Sarah also, it's from the from the same region, and she's a film graduate from the University of West Indies, and is involved in the project together with Raj in the UAS initiatives for the last 7 years. So I would like to ask Raj to start, and then we can move later to Sarah. Raj, please, you have the floor.
Okay, great. So hi, good afternoon. It's afternoon here in Trinidad and Tobago, wherever you are from. So first, I would like to say a huge thank you for having us on here. It's an honor and privilege to be able to share some of the things that we are doing and some of the perhaps challenges and results that we are getting here. It would help a bit if I put like what we do in perspective in terms of how it's done, because unlike the previous speakers who are all e-waste experts, we are not. So we are from Restore a Sense of Icon. It's a non-profit organization that is focused on effecting change. And how we do that is through technology and education. So around 2012, we embarked on a project to support students in what is called a hotspot area in Trinidad and Tobago. So there were some socioeconomic challenges, and we were trying to support these students using a software. They had no devices. So we made a call out for different people and organizations to, donate used equipment, and our team would repair it and refurbish it. Quite a successful project. And that led to an awakening for us in different areas. We were really surprised about the amount of people had used ICT equipment, and I'm not speaking about general e-waste, I'm speaking about the ICT equipment here. The amount of people had used ICT equipment, and honestly, they did not know what to do with it. And in a lot of cases, at that point in time, they were not really aware of the dangers and challenges associated with environment in terms of just dumping these things in the landfill. And then what is worse is that unless it's one of the international companies that were governed by international laws, and I'm not saying that to any way distribute any local companies, but a lot of organizations here, they just, because there's no legislation and because there's a cost, and Trinidad and Tobago, it's a high cost to get rid of your e-waste, it was a nice convenient thing to just dump in landfills. So what we did is we launched a program called RIDE, R-I-D-E, which stands for Reduce the Indiscriminate Dumping of E-Waste. And this was launched as a club in secondary schools. To put that in perspective for the international, it's like age group like 11 to like 18. And much to our surprise, this club like really took off. And now we have clubs in Belize, Bahamas, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Grenada, St. Vincent, a number of places. And we were, well, I can't say surprised, but young people, they bring to the table energy. They bring to the table passion. When they get this sense of belonging to a purpose, we as adults have to step aside, but they also lack experience. They sometimes lack the understanding of the guidelines through which things have to be done, because with e-waste, you have all these legislations and laws and processes that must be followed. But combine their energy and passion with some direction, and we were able to launch a significant program that started the collection of used ICT equipment, the refurbishment of this equipment, because through the clubs, we got partnerships, like, for example, the Trinidad and Tobago Computer Society and a number of other ICT technicians came on board, and they act as trainers, training these kids in the different clubs. So kids were trained, they were excited to be trained. We started collections, we started refurbishment, we started donations of equipment, and put all of this process together. Kids, the students in schools had another advantage. they have a huge circle of influence. So their parents and their peers and all these things, and they are like these social media experts. I'm not in that age group, but you know, they would get a message out and it's going to come back to me many full times. I say, okay, cool, that's us. And the thing about it is they now started to influence their parents, and we were able now to ramp up advocacy. For example, one school, you know, in Trinidad, we have these things called Sports Day, and you know, they have walkathons, and so on. The kids will just walk through the streets. We had kids walking with banners and so on about ride and dropping off little flyers to irritate you in your home that don't dump your waste in the garbage bin and all these things. And as part of the advocacy, we started to have speakers like from Jeff and BCRC and EMA. When we do hackathons, BCRC has been there for a number of years doing stuff with us, and they would assist with education and support the advocacy, because now we can get information on exactly what these kids need to learn about. So combine all of that with the club model, we found that that worked for us. I mean, to give an idea, in the last, I would say 2.5 years, we would have put back into the system over 3,000 working computer units. Are there challenges? Lots of challenges, because now, what do you do with the stuff that cannot be refurbished? So a lot of companies, and this is really unfortunate, initially saw us as a nice e-waste dump site. So you know what? Oh, you all collecting e-waste? Come on, man, we have a truckload for you. And when you collect these things and you sift through it, you realize, oh my God, what are we going to do with this? So of course, thank God for partners like EMA and so on. They were able to help get rid of some of these. I can't speak as to where it went, but that is a hole that has to be filled in the Caribbean. E-waste is a fantastic business opportunity. We are not there, but that is something that if we collaborate, because one of the challenges in the Caribbean is the fact that, you know, we are a number of small islands. We are a number of small islands that are governed by different policies and politicians. And anyway, I'm preaching to SIDS. I SIDS all over the world. And it's about collaborating. So when we realized that we could get a partnership with the Caribbean Association of Principals, we now have a partnership that goes across 16 countries where principals are advocating in their schools about e-waste policies. I mean, as simple as advocating towards reducing your digital time and, you know, what can we do about it? So that's where we are. That's who we are as an organization. And we have a long way to go. But I don't want to cut into Sarah's time, because Sarah is like one of these things. So am I handing over back to you, Carla, who will introduce Sarah? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Very interesting. Wow. Congratulations on this initiative. That sounds fantastic. Sarah, would you be able to share some experience with us? So do you want to say a few words, or I have a few questions for you if you prefer?
Hi, yeah, sure. You could ask questions if you'd like. I'm here mostly to piggyback off what Mr. Raj was talking about as part of his initiative.
It's great to have someone very young here. I'm not seeing all the participants, so I don't want to offend anyone, but it's great that we have a younger person here also talking from that perspective. So the first question I have for you is, how do you see the importance of sustainable e-waste management among youth communities?
Okay, so firstly, I could only speak about my country from my experiences and what I have here. I can tell you straight up, it's very important and extremely useful. I know you said I'm a young person, but I'm like my 20s, like, so I'm not like very, very young, but I could tell you for a fact, growing up, I was kind of in that in-between phase where technology was not as advanced as it is now, but we were in technology while it was developing. But we didn't have knowledge. We didn't know, I didn't even know e-waste was a thing until I encountered Mr. Raj and his a company and their initiative. I honestly, genuinely had no knowledge. And I feel like now that technology is advancing so much, like a new phone model is coming out every single year. And those who could afford, like, you know, like popular brands would say, you know, bring the phone in and we'll give you a new one cheaper. There's a lot of people in the country that can't afford that. So you have end up with a lot of models like phones, and they just, you don't know what to do with them. You just throw it away, toss it. What do you normally do when you have an old phone? Some people put them in a drawer, but where does it go after that drawer? What do you do with all these stuff? And it's not just that, there's like laptops as well. Any small technology you get your hands on. So especially for the youths, like right now, with this initiative that they have in the schools, I know he's been very humble there, but they have a lot of clubs across many schools, and my nephews are a part of that, and they are learning things that I wish I knew when I was that age, when I was in high school. I wish I could have, had this opportunity. And I think if it keeps pushing and listening to everyone else before us, not realizing you all don't actually have a model, like there's no model that we can do to follow, no awareness. How do people separate their garbage? It really is toxic waste. And I feel like this is very important. And everything starts with the youth, right? Because they teach everyone else.
Yeah, and very different from previous generations. I think the youth are also very much owners of these equipments nowadays and have a big role to play. And also, as Raj said, in terms of the passion that you guys bring, and that's so important to keep the agenda item alive and with the high importance that it deserves. Thank you very much. So my second question to you is, what do you think about what motivates youth to be engaged to sustainable e-waste management? What's your experience?
So I'm gonna steal a little bit of what Mr. Raj mentioned earlier. When you get a youth excited, they go all out. For me, I think knowledge is power. So if youths simply don't know, but if they know, like if you bring this information to them and show them what happens, like the consequences of actions, because they don't know. When we were that age, we didn't know anything until someone shows us like, hey, if you press this button, this would happen. So once you show a youth what happens, or the kids at least, teenagers, once they see it and they have that energy, that drive, that motivation to stop that from happening, anything is possible. So you just need to tap in. I think you just need to give them the opportunity to do it, because they just simply don't know. So if you bring the information, the awareness, once they grab onto it, they'll be able to do something about it. So that's where you get the drive, just education, knowledge, just give them the opportunity to do it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think engagement is a strong word here, not that we see among the countries, but I think engaging with the young generation is very important. Then people are part of not only about the problem, but also part of the solutions, which is the best way to have everybody informed and participating. My third and final question to you today would be, what challenges you are facing and what could be done to help youth actively respond to the e-waste management? I think you mentioned some examples already, so if you want to add a few more, that would be great. Thank you.
I think it's just simply awareness. Nobody knows. Like I said, I didn't even know about e-waste until a few years ago, and that says a lot, because we are the Caribbean, but we're pretty much developed enough to be aware of this. But why don't we know? Why don't my mom know? Why don't my dad know? Why my nephews only know? Well, my nephews are finally getting to know as well, which is great. But everyone should be aware of this. But why? It's where's the awareness, right? But I feel like once people are aware, I think it might be simple or complicated, just that one word, which is awareness. But I feel like that's one of the first and major hurdle.
Okay, many thanks. Great, colleagues. Thank you very much for sharing all these interesting perspectives and points of view, also results from your different studies, and the example of the project also from Raj and Sarah. Now we will change to the mode of question and answers. We have a couple of questions and in the chat already. So I wonder whether, Jovita, you want me to read some of them, or how would you prefer that we go about this?
Thank you, Clara. If you see the question, you can just read and rise to the panelists.
Okay, there are different channels here. There is the one on question and answer, and then there is the webinar chat, and I see questions in both. Do you prefer taking one first and the other after, or?
Yeah, I think it might be easier, Carla, if you go through the Q&A first. That might be the simplest way.
All right, let's do that. Boom. The first question is, based on the volume of e-waste generated in the Caribbean region, is it feasible to process recycle e-waste versus exporting to a certified recycler abroad? I would say that this question could be at least share the perspective of the difficulties that are already touched base by some of our speakers today. But I would like to ask first Odessa or Meredith to try to see their perspectives on this. So the question again is it feasible to process, recycle e-waste versus exporting to a certified recycler abroad? Odessa or Meredith, who would feel comfortable to say a few words?
Hi, Carla.
Please.
So yes, Odessa here. So the question is if it's easy or feasible to dismantle at home or in-house, but it depends, Carla. It depends on the availability of resources at home to facilitate recycling, and also what are we recycling to farm, to produce, because it's something that must be able to sell back or for them to go into the market and make a profit. Do we have the resources at home to do such things? So while it may be economically feasible, at this point in time, the capacity and the resources is not available to allow that. So what the assessment is showing us, as we really need the regional collaboration in this regard to have, it's not feasible to have a hub in all of the countries, but if you have a centralized location where the e-waste is being taken, and from there we could have some amount of dismantling and then some amount of export, it becomes more beneficial to the recyclers at home, so they don't have to stand the cost to export it all the way to the importing countries. So I guess with a middle point, it becomes doable.
Thank you very much. Meredith, would you like to comment on this one, or I skip you for now?
Yes, maybe I would just like to add that at the moment, so I don't really know if it will be feasible for to do the recycling in-house because of we don't have the facilities to do the whole processing and the recycling process. We don't have that at the moment. So I think at the moment, I would think it would be more feasible to export. But maybe if we can maybe further this the study or go further with the assessment, we can have a more clearer answer on this.
Yeah, and that's not cheap. No, the solution is not cheap, but it's needed. And as you have been saying, I think this project is trying to see opportunities also of collaboration that could try to help each other in the region or sub-region, which actually goes very much in line with what we say and try to support in the Basel Convention, which is to try to avoid huge movements of hazardous waste. In the case of e-waste, in many cases, it's hazardous waste. And according to the convention, this has to be done in a proper manner, and ideally avoiding long distances. So if we could try to find solutions which are regional or sub-region, and that would be cheaper, and that would support not only the problem, but also the opportunity to become a solution to the problem, and also to avoid environmental issues. Very good, thank you. I hear a voice, I'm not sure, no? Okay. So the next question we have, I'm not sure if any of you would be able to answer right now, but I put it here and then we see. Due to the non-existence of HS code, the World Customs Organization related catalog of codes for import and export. So due to the non-existence codes for secondary materials, how or what do you propose to promote the trade and circularity of secondary materials and components for SIDS? I wonder if anybody from the GGKP also has any views on that based on the project assessment so far, or if this is a bit outside of the scope of this project. I wonder if Melanie or any other colleague who feel comfortable to speak about it.
Sorry, Carla, was that about dismantling?
No, it's about codes. Not only when you do import and export, you have to identify what you're doing. And this colleague is asking, because we lack some kinds of codes for secondary materials, so after you treat the waste, how do you propose to promote the trade and circularity of secondary materials and components for SIDS, so perhaps among SIDS?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I think we've got colleagues on the line from the Basel Secretariat. Amara is here, if you can promote her to host you, Vita, because actually the Caribbean Child Project is doing some work in this realm, and I think it would be useful for Amara to jump on. I know she's active in the chat there, so if we can promote Amara to host and she can provide a response on that. Thank you.
Give me a second.
Thanks, Jovita. Oh yeah, she's on the host bar now. Amara, you should be able to unmute.
We can't hear you yet. It seems that you're connected twice.
Yes, hi.
And now we can
everyone.
hear you. Yeah, please.
So yes, my name's Amara and I'm from the BCRC Caribbean in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not sure if I'm the best person to answer this question, but could you just let me know what the question is one more time, please?
Yeah, so the focus of the question is about the HS codes, the codes used for trade, for secondary materials. Since we don't have a complete list of codes for covering all the secondary materials after you manage some kind of waste, the question is whether in this project you are doing anything related to that and how to try to identify the paths that you may need to trade from one country or one part of the region to another. But if it's out of the scope, I think we should move on.
Okay, yes. So that is out of the scope for the project that both Meredith and Odessa spoke about. So we didn't get HS codes on that one.
It is a broader issue, no? And I would say the Basel Secretariat and the Basel Convention Secretariat, we do work closely. It's not me, it's another colleague of mine. I'm not sure if she's in the call, Melissa Lim. She works on that collaboration with the old customs organization in their waste, not of secondary materials necessarily, to try to improve the catalog of codes and to have more identification possible in terms of import and export of wastes. Okay, I'll move on to the next question, which is I'll just read it out aloud. So it's nice to have best practices from different countries. However, it would be much beneficial if there were a kind of documentation that include these informations and practices. And I think this is for the project. So perhaps one of you in the projects could highlight how this can be done.
Yeah, absolutely, Clara. I think that's a very good point. And one of the things we haven't spoken about on this webinar is that the CCKML project is developing case studies on successful e-waste management in small island developing states. And so we are about to produce 5 case studies for e-waste, 1 in Trinidad, 1 in Samoa, and then perhaps Cohen can share quickly the other ones. But basically, we'll be publishing those in the next couple of months because we agree it's very important to be able to really analyze and break down the factors and success stories and also the challenges and opportunities in SIDS. And part of the work we're doing is making sure that we do analyze these things and attempt to provide a basis for replication and scale up. So please bear with us. We've done the research. We had a consultant working on that last year, and we're just now pulling those things together. So thanks for that question.
Thank you. Another question, please. So to get a higher value on the international market, one does need to dismantle, but very little of the materials have a use or market here. I'm not sure what this person is. Also, some parts like the plastic housings don't have a very high value. So with shipping costs increasing, it is probably better to landfill or use them for extrusion applications. Well, that's hard, huh? and I already heard that before, that we are landfilling plastics and e-waste, and that's serious business. So I wonder if one of the participating countries here in the project would feel comfortable to share some of these limitations or difficulties now because of the costs of dismantling, but also the cost of management. And any of the three that spoke today, or Melanie, if you feel. We can't hear you yet. I think your mic is closed. Yeah, thanks.
Speaking on mute, excellent. Yes, I can absolutely speak to that point, because one of the other things that Islands is doing is developing 2 private sector partnerships. One is with the cruise industry, which is not relevant to this, and one is with the shipping industry, which is relevant to this discussion. And when I mentioned in my opening remarks that we're looking to increase recycling rates, it really is through this partnership with the shipping industry. So those of you who are based in the Pacific will know of the Moanataka partnership, which was developed by Swire Shipping, and that provides free shipping to small and medium-sized recycling companies based in Pacific SIDS that are on Swire mainline routes. And those, because what they'd realized, Swire was realizing they were taking full liners into Samoa or other countries in the Pacific and leaving with a liner filled with empty shipping containers. So now they provide free space to reach recycling markets, and that's to basically cross the barrier of fluctuating shipping costs. As everyone knows, since COVID, shipping has doubled and tripled in price, so it's gotten worse. So what we're doing together with Swire Shipping and other partners is working to globalize that partnership. And so the aim of Islands by the end of the 5 years of the program is to have each of the 33 SIDS that are involved in Islands serviced by one of these shipping lines providing free shipping. So that's the way we're hoping to increase recycling rates in SIDS and improve circularity. So bear with us, we're working on it, but we are planning on launching at the Jeff Assembly in August this year. So you'll have more news soon. Thanks for the opportunity to speak on that.
Many thanks. Let me see here, another question from us. There is a couple of questions about sharing of information. I think the colleagues from the project, eventually, as they said, they will share information on the convention, on the project website. So please check it out or write directly to the organizers so that they could be in contact with you. Let me see here.
If I might just jump in, Carla, I see
Please.
one question from Cole. I think you're from Niue. We are actually working, Cole's question was related to Swire's mainline maps. And this is the big question. I don't think Swire is servicing Niue. I think Niue is serviced by another couple of lines. So what we're doing, Cole, is mapping Swire's mainline routes in a visualization at the moment, which we'll share with everyone. But we are very keen to speak to you and your port authority about which liner services are servicing Niue, so we can sooner rather than later get in contact with them and onboard them onto the shipping partnership. So if you could send me a quick DM, Cole, we can catch up via call in the next couple of weeks, if that's okay. Thanks, Carla, back to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm seeing here in the chat that there are a couple of people also sharing information about initiatives and things that already work, that perhaps others would be interested in seeing. There is a comment here saying that exporting of e-waste is not feasible. So we just heard from Melanie of this other initiative that is trying to, through a private sector partnership, to make it feasible. And I think this is the answer, because if you leave it to the countries themselves to find all the resources needed to manage this volume that we are seeing, even small countries with small populations are generating really a lot of e-waste. We need collaboration and partnership so that we can really improve the situation. So now I have a question to Raj. Are you planning to scale the initiative from schools to universities and broader to communities? And the second part of the question is, what tips you could share to change the behavior in communities to support sustainable e-waste management? Raj, please.
Fantastic question. The project started in schools, but yes, we have already scaled to universities. We have some pretty strong university clubs. And then it went on to communities. We have quite a number of community clubs that are really driven by other NGOs. So the model we have right now is an NGO, or community group can apply to form a club, and we have lots of those clubs. Now, the thing about scalability and understanding how we get community to change their thinking that worked for us is the fact that our clubs are not an e-waste club. It's a technology club, of which a subset of it is e-waste. So for example, we started an all-women's tech development club that taught things like app development and web development and stuff like that. And it also segued into e-waste. So, you know, they are collecting, they're not doing so much refurbishing, but they are collecting, they are advocating and so on. So the key thing to get, at least for us, that e-waste part of it being part of the culture of the club is by pegging it with the other things that one, we care about for development, and the things we care about that we are concerned about, because we are also heavy into tree planting. We plant like thousands and thousands of trees. So if you do a course with us in the club, to get your certificate, you must ensure that your participation with us is carbon zero. So you work out your electrical time, you work out how many trees you have to plant, else you ain't gonna get a star in your certificate. So it's much more than just e-waste, but e-waste and the concept of wanting to be successful and the concept of wanting to be responsible is what drives the e-waste with it.
Many thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think we are heading to the end of this webinar today, although there are many more questions to be answered. I think we could spend here several more hours. And thank you very much for all of you who are engaging here. The colleagues from the project will be able to see all these questions, and eventually perhaps in other webinars and other opportunities also tackle some of them, including also in the projects themselves and in the case studies that they are running. So I would like to just quickly close here by saying that we have still another intervention from Melanie, but before that, just quickly to say that, you know, this is great, the opportunity is great. You have touched base on several important aspects of the e-waste, let's say, landscape, and the project probably will bring some other ideas of what's feasible and not. So let's keep on listening and learning from you who are with the hands-on in this, guys. And there is one of the initiatives that this project is launching today is the e-waste community of practice. So I would like to ask Melanie to say something about it. Melanie, please.
Thanks, Carla. Yes, as Carla mentioned, we have a community of practice being launched today on the Green Forum. And as I speak, my colleagues will drop the links for the Green Forum in the chat. If you haven't joined the Green Forum, please do. We have several communities of practice under islands on all of the thematic areas that we're working on. So we have groups on plastics, on used oil, on end-of-life vehicles, on mercury, on gender and women's leadership in SIDS. And today is the launch of our e-waste community of practice. So we're very impressed and excited at the amount of people. There's 111 people on this webinar, which is our best attended webinar yet. So thank you very much, everyone who's attended. And what we'd really like to do is see you more and continue this discussion and these questions on the e-waste webinar. I think you're right, Carla, there's many more questions than there is time. And what the Green Forum gives us is a space to ask and answer questions to each other. It brings us everybody who's working on e-waste in small island developing states to the one space. And it's, you know, I do like to describe it as an unsexy Facebook. It's not going to feel like your normal social media experience, but please know that we're working on it and we're building an app. So get in on the ground on the Green Forum and join the e-waste group. We'll hold some live discussions in there. We'll continue answering questions and exchanging. And by the end of this year, you'll probably be able to download it as an app, and it'll be very interactive. So so thanks again, and please do join the Green Forum. We'd love to see you there. And also we'll be recording this and going through all of the questions and getting back to you individually. I know a lot of you have popped your emails with specific questions in the chat, so that will be a task for us for the rest of the week. So you will hear from us again. So thanks again, and back to you, Carla.
Thank you. And so everybody, it's an open community, everybody can engage, Melanie, and would you have some moderation, or anybody can initiate a different topic there? How was that?
That's right. So the groups are moderated, and I mean, I know there's some very keen e-waste professionals here. So one of the things we also do when we launch a group is look for some moderators. Obviously, we have people on our team moderating. Clara and Cohen will moderate this group, but I'd love for anyone who wants to volunteer to also be a moderator and volunteer to post every couple of weeks. That would be great. Alice, I see you online. I think it's, you know, you've got some wonderful things to share from your recent experience in Kiribati. Others who have been active, if you do fancy being a moderator, we'll give you a certificate, which might be nice. So please, if you are interested in that role, let us know. But yes, we moderate the community in-house as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be a moderator here today. I'm happy to learn more about these initiatives, and happy to see that so many people are engaged. So from the closure point of view, we heard that the problem is very big, but not because the problem is big, we should just cross our fingers or hands or arms and don't do anything. And I think this is a good example here today, that everybody's kind of worried about it, but working on solutions. So from the negative point of view, of course, we see that there is still lack of supporting legislation, or not necessarily focused legislation that would help countries manage this problem in a better way. We also, from the limitations point of view, we have lack of infrastructure or education, awareness raising, etc. But from the positive side, we have several good examples here. I think the first one is that these projects, for example, show that everybody's interested and learning about the size of the problems that countries are dealing with. And SIDS are very fragile in terms of geography and population and so on. So they are remote, they have difficulties in exporting waste in this case, and perhaps even more difficulties to manage their own waste. So we heard here of the idea of having engagement, collaboration among different countries and multiple stakeholders, which I think is a key point again. Governments alone will not be able to do all the work that's needed. And the other positive point here was the example of the Trinidad and Tobago initiative that is expanding to the region on involving and engaging with young people who are very passionate, who are very interested in finding solutions for their future generations as well. And that's great. That proves that when you are engaged, when you learn about the problem and what you can do to help solve the problem, that's the way to engage everybody. And this is a good example again. I would say, what else I heard here? So engagement, collaboration, private sector partnership, further development of legislation, and in the specifics of collaboration, trying to find solution for collection, for recycling, for dismantling, and also the possibility to dispose of by free shipping outside of the region, as the example that Melanie shared. So there are many good opportunities here, many good positive parts of the initiatives, which I congratulate you about. So good luck in the continuation of this project, and we look forward to hearing from you again. All the best. Thank you very much for all of you, for the participation, and for the organizers and interpreters who help us today, and the panelists. I wonder if Melanie, do you want to say a few closing remarks?
Yeah, just a quick thank you to everyone for attending. Thank you to you, Carla, for your very able and efficient moderation. We really appreciate having you here and hearing about you drawing on your own experience as well. It's very useful. Thanks to all of the speakers and the panelists. We really do appreciate your time. We know there's been lots of pre-calls to prepare for this, and just a real note of thanks to say we thank you for your commitment. And all of you who have attended, thank you so much. We look forward to continuing the conversation on the Green Forum. To those of you who are coming to the BRS COP in Geneva next week, we'll be there. We look forward to meeting you in person as well. If you are representing your government, you will be getting an invitation to the program working group meeting we're having on end-of-life vehicles, and we'll be sharing information on that on the Green Forum as well. So thanks again, and good night.
Thank
A
you,
good day.
Rita. Thank you.
Good
Thank
day.
you. Yeah,
Good
or
day.
good day. Exactly. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.